What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is the series that I am doing. I guess it's going to be a 26 or 27 week series. It's the ABCs. I'm going to do every vocabulary word. I'm going to do every letter, and I'm going to give you slang, idioms, expressions, just colloquialisms, maybe some phrasal verbs, you never know. But I'm going to give it for each letter of the alphabet. So we already did A, we already did B, and now we're on C. And today I'm going to actually give you 5 idioms that start with the letter C. I think part 1 and part 2, which was A and B, were slang words, but today I'm going to give you 5 idioms. The first one is cost an arm and a leg. Cost an arm and a leg. And yes, you heard that correctly. Cost an arm and a leg. Now, this just means that something is very expensive. If it costs an arm and a leg, it is so expensive that you might have to sell your own body parts to pay for it. Now, not literally, please do not think like, oh my gosh, Americans sell their body parts for money. Maybe some people do, but it's not the norm. If something is very expensive, it's just an expression or an idiom that we use to say like, oof, I cannot afford that because it costs an arm and a leg. So an example, I'm looking currently into possibly buying a house. And also I want to possibly get a new car, but also I love to travel and I have a trip coming up this year. And this trip has been in the makes, and we've been planning it for 5 years. So obviously this trip comes first. And then next year I want to possibly buy a house and I want to possibly get a new car, and everything that I'm looking at just costs an arm and a leg. And I'm like, so many expenses I have right now, and everything is just so expensive out there. You know, I'm trying my best, but it costs an arm and a leg. It just means that it is extremely expensive, and I can afford it, but it's gonna take some time. I'm gonna have to save. I can't just go out and splurge and buy it because it's too expensive. An actual example of this is the new smartphone costs an arm and a leg, but it's worth every penny. The new smartphone costs an arm and a leg, but it's worth every penny. So basically, the new smartphone is very expensive, but it's worth every penny. It's worth it. The second one starts with the letter C, is caught red-handed. Caught red-handed. Now this one just means you are caught in the act of doing something wrong. If you are caught red-handed, you are caught in the act of doing something wrong. So I don't know the exact history of this, but my guess is back in the day, this came about because somebody be doing something they shouldn't be doing, illegal, maybe taking a life. I don't want to get flagged on YouTube by using any harsh words, but by ending somebody else's life. And then of course there is red stuff that comes out of us. I don't want to be flagged on YouTube for using some vocabulary, but you know what I mean. And then the red things come on your hands and you are red-handed, right? So I know I haven't been doing history with Carley lately, but that is my guess of how this idiom came about. And it just means you're caught in the act of doing something wrong. But again, it doesn't have to be like something extremely wrong. Any little thing that you do, you can be caught red-handed. So an example, my kids, we have a pantry that has their snacks in it. I usually only allow them to have like 2 or 3 snacks a day because I don't want them to, ruin their meals. I don't want it to ruin their appetite. But sometimes they sneak in and they grab some, and my kids are very polite. So they come and they ask me and I'll open it for them. But there are some times that they try to be sneaky and, they think mom loses track of how many snacks they've had. And sometimes I do, but they come up and they're like, hey mom, can I have a snack? And I'm like, yeah, I can open you a snack, but haven't you already had 3 snacks today? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I think you have. And then they're caught red-handed, right? I caught them in the act of lying. And maybe they're actually lying, or maybe they just don't remember how many snacks they had that day, or maybe they're just still hungry because I do have 2 boys and they're growing and they're eating everything in sight right now. Maybe it's that, but they are caught red-handed in the lie. Another example is you can use this kind of jokingly as well. Again, same thing with food. My husband and I, we tend to eat extremely healthy, and then every now and then we have, a little splurge here and there. And sometimes, you know, I joke with my husband and I'm like, oh, I caught you red-handed, when he's like, you know, having his little splurge, like he's having his chips or he's having his little sweet tooth, you know, he's having a piece of chocolate or something. I'm like, oh, I caught you red-handed. And the same thing goes when my husband catches me as well, you know. He's like,
what are you doing down there?
And I'm like,
nothing.
As I'm, you know, putting something, you know, like eating something I shouldn't be eating or that's not necessarily healthy for you. As I'm putting that in my mouth, he's like, caught you red-handed. And I'm like chewing my food really quickly, like, what are you talking about? You know, all fun, all games, nothing serious. But yes, caught red-handed just means to be caught in the act of doing something wrong. And it can be used lightly as like sarcasm or like a joke, like, oh, I caught you cheating on your diet, caught you red-handed. Or it could be something serious like, you were caught red-handed stealing from this store, you were caught red-handed doing something illegal, blah, blah, blah. So an actual example for you all is, the thief was caught red-handed trying to steal the car. The thief was caught red-handed trying to steal the car. Caught red-handed. Number 3, the third idiom that we're going to learn today that starts with the letter C, is cut corners. Cut corners. And this just means to do something in the easiest or cheapest way, often sacrificing quality. If you do something the cheapest way you can possibly do it, the easiest way you can possibly do it, you're cutting corners. And typically that means the quality of whatever you're doing is going to go down, right? If you cut corners, if you try to do things the easy way or try to do things the cheap way, quality is not going to be there because you didn't invest any time or money or anything like that into the product or whatever you're doing. So quality is going to go down. So I used to buy from this one clothing place in Korea and I lived there, and I loved it because there was a lot of free size clothing, which means like people who are a size extra small can fit it and people who are a size extra large could fit it. It was like free size. And I used to go to this place and I used to buy this clothing from there because they had a lot of different sizes and it was size inclusive, even for me, because I am a bigger girl. And, you know, especially being an American living in Korea where everybody tends to be on the smaller side, it was hard for me to find things to wear. So I used to love going to this place. I didn't really have that much problems with it for a couple of years. The quality was really good. I enjoyed the clothing that I had. I came to America and then I went back to Korea, and I was in America for about a year, and then I went back to Korea and I went back to the same store, and I realized that something had changed because as soon as I would wash my clothing item, it would change colors or it would have a different texture, feel weird, shrink. And I'm like, what is going on? Because I know it's not like my washer or dryer. I didn't even have a dryer in Korea. You just hang it up or whatever. I was like, I know it's not that. I actually was talking to a friend, you know, about it. And my friend used to shop there. My friend was like, oh, well, I don't shop there anymore because they switched companies of who they deal with their fabrics and stuff. And I feel like that company that they're going with now just cuts a lot of corners, which means that company probably buys the cheapest fabric or throws stuff together so it rips easily, tears easily. So that's why my friend doesn't shop there anymore. And I was like, oh, okay, that explains a lot. So thank you for letting me know. I'm not going to shop there anymore either. And I didn't. And it was kind of sad because I really do like their style, their fashion. It's really cute, but it's just not durable. You know, the quality is just not there because they cut corners. All right. And again, cut corners is to do something the easiest or cheapest way, and you sacrifice quality when you do that. So an example is the builder cut corners by using cheaper materials, resulting in a weak structure. So this is very scary. The builder cut corners by using cheaper materials, resulting in a weak structure. Cut corners. So the next one I have for you all today, number 4, cry over spilled milk. All right, this idiom is a very old idiom. It's been around for forever. Cry over spilled milk just means to be upset about something that cannot be changed. And I know a lot of times our idioms are really weird and you're like, how did that ever come about? I'm actually in the process of creating a book about the history of idioms because even I am very curious about how we came about having these idioms. Cry over spilled milk. But if you are a mom and if you have ever breastfed your child, you understand this pain because I am a mom and I, was breastfeeding my child. And when you spill the liquid gold that is breast milk, you will cry. because it takes so much, to produce it and everything. So I kind of understand this idiom a lot more after breastfeeding than I did beforehand. But cry over spilled milk just means to become upset about something that cannot be changed. The fact that I spilled it, I can't change that fact. It happened, right? But I am upset about it because, like I said, if you're a mom, you understand, because it's hard work producing enough breast milk to supply that for your child, and then there it goes on the floor, you spilt it. So another example of this is things that cannot be changed. You're traveling. You can't control the weather. You're not God. The weather comes along and is like, oh, I'm going to have a tornado in this area. Your flight gets delayed. You're super upset. And in the end, you're just crying over spilled milk. Like, you really can't change anything about it. Yeah, it's frustrating. Yes, your flight is delayed. Yeah, it might throw off your whole trip, but there's nothing you can do about it. You have to put safety first. You cannot fly in the middle of a tornado, right? You're crying over spilled milk. There's nothing that can be changed, nothing you can do about it. But again, you're upset. So an example of this is, there's no use crying over spilled milk. Let's just focus on fixing the problem. There's no use crying over spilled milk. Let's just focus on fixing the problem. Boom. That's going to be my new favorite quote. We have 4 so far. We have gone over 4 idioms that start with the letter C. We are now on the last one for today. Number 5 is curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity killed the cat. And again, you're like, dang, Americans be weird with all these idioms. I get it. Curiosity killed the cat seems like extremely weird thing to say, but it just means being too inquisitive can lead to trouble. If you're too curious about things, sometimes it can cause trouble. If you're too curious, if you're wondering too much, sometimes that can lead to problems or trouble. Well, before I give the actual example, I'll give you my example about when I was a kid. I was extremely curious about how air conditions worked. And I know this is gonna sound really stupid. I don't even think I ever told my parents this, so I'm really sorry. I'm about to out myself here on YouTube. But I was extremely curious about how air conditions work, and my parents actually, I'm not spoiled, but I had a dollhouse, which was like a little tree house, but not in a tree, like an actual house in my backyard. And that was my dollhouse. It had AC and electricity. I could live, I had a bed in there. I could live in it. It was a very tiny playhouse. I kept my toys in it, but there was AC and everything. I didn't have a bathroom, but that was it. I had a little mini fridge, I had AC, I had a little bed in there, and that was my dollhouse, but it was an actual house that I could go into. And the AC was a big unit that was installed in there. And I was curious as to how hot air comes in somehow and turns it cold. What is going on in there? So I decided to look into how it worked, and I was fiddling around with it and putting some things inside, seeing if I put this leaf in here, will it turn really cold? Oh, if I put water, will it freeze? Anyways, long story short, I messed up the air conditioner in my dollhouse really bad, and my parents had to get a new one. And the thing where it says it leads to trouble, the trouble was me. I was in trouble. I was in a lot of trouble. My parents got extremely mad at me. Of course, it was expensive to replace. They were like, you don't even really need AC in there anymore because you are taking advantage of our kindness. You're already spoiled by having a doll house to begin with. We don't need AC in there. You're fine. Eventually, they did put new AC in there because I had nieces and nephews. Everybody enjoyed the doll house. It wasn't just mine anymore. Everybody would come over and enjoy it. So they did fix it. But for a long period of time, I was in trouble because curiosity killed the cat on me. So I was curious about how this AC machine worked. I poured water in it. Not a good idea. Do not advise. It died. And then I got in trouble for it because they're like, Carly, why would you do such a thing? And I'm like, I don't know. I put leaves in it. I poured water. I was 6 years old, 7 years old. All right, you guys, it's a mistake. All right. I have lived and I have learned, and now I know. I still don't know how they work exactly, but I know not to do that. So curiosity killed the cat on that. An example though, for you all, an example sentence is, he tried to hack into the system out of curiosity, but as they say, curiosity killed the cat. So he tried to hack into the system out of curiosity, but as they say, curiosity killed the cat. Today, I know we learned 5 idioms, so it was kind of like a lot, but 5 idioms that start with the letter C. The first one, once again, just to reiterate and review, cost an arm and a leg. It's very expensive. Number 2, caught red-handed, which means you got caught in the act of doing something wrong. Number 3, you cut corners. You do something in the easiest or cheapest way possible and you sacrifice quality. Number 4, you cry over spilled milk. You become upset over something that cannot be changed. Cry over spilled milk. And number 5, curiosity killed the cat, which means you were too inquisitive, too curious about something that led to trouble. So I hope you guys have a better understanding of these 5 idioms that start with the letter C. I hope you are enjoying this series that I'm doing. We got a lot more left to go. There's a lot more letters in the alphabet. I upload these videos the last Sunday of each month, so if you want to bookmark it or whatever, last Sunday of each month I will have a new video for this series. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next video.